Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm bringing you yet another video where I'll be dissecting an incredibly controversial topic. This is a topic I've debated before, actually, and on YouTube, funnily enough, so if you have time to burn and want to see me fry some rando, I'll link the vid in the description. Anyway, though, obviously based upon my reputation as the biggest Kokksu lover in the verse, people will think I am biased based on some of the arguments I make for Kokksu in this video. Not to spoil who I think wins or anything, but I will be taking some of the higher level interpretations for Kokksu's feats in this video just to keep it interesting. And because of that, people are immediately just going to say I'm wanking or whatever, but I assure you, as I do with all of my other videos, I will remain unbiased and give what I believe to be the most fair estimation of both characters. I have also done videos on both of these characters in the past as well, so it'll probably be worth it to go and check those videos prior to this one. I will not be going in depth as much on each of the characters' feats as I normally do, so if you're curious about their full capabilities, I highly recommend you go check out the Kokksu and Minato videos. Links will be in the description. Anyway, though, without further ado, let's just hop right into it.
I'm fastest, boy.
This category is an extremely important one, as determining who is the fastest character will likely determine the outcome of the battle. With Kokksu, there's not much to say. His most blatant and obvious speed feat comes in his fight with Yukito, where he is able to point-blank react and catch a fully transformed Matatabi in Yukito Paw Strike. Yukito herself was majorly impressive during the War Arc Jinchuriki vs Jinchuriki battle, as she was capable of moving alongside and tagging both KCM Naruto and Killer Bee. Where do these characters compare to Minato is the most obvious question, and to answer that we will need to look at the speed of Minato. Minato was capable of blitzing Jonin A, who was widely considered to be one of the fastest shinobi in the world at the time. It is unclear as to how fast he truly was during this time period, but an important aspect of this fight is to also notice that Killer Bee reacted and intercepted Minato twice during this encounter, whereas A was completely murder blitzed and unable to stop Minato from taking his back, even whilst being at his top speed. Like I said though, this feat is virtually unquantifiable because we simply do not have any actual scaling for the Raikage speed other than height. Minato was also able to outdo Yellow Mask Obito during the Ninetales attack on the village, but unfortunately this will actually serve as an anti-feat for him mostly, as there are multiple instances where Yellow Mask Obito is simply able to keep up with, move the same distance in the same time, and react to Minato's movements. This Obito is nowhere near as fast as the variations that appear later in Part 2, so this will actually cap base Minato's speed. The real best scaling we have for Minato that I believe is by far the most consistent due to the constant comparisons made between them is that Minato is somewhere in War Arc 4th Raikage to KCM1 Naruto range. There are many things to support this, specifically the statement made by C during the Kage Summit that the Raikage has reaction speed equal to the Yellow Flash, and the statement from the 4th data book which states the Raikage whilst donning his Lightning Cloak does not hold inferior speed to Minato as well. These two statements suggest the Raikage has improved to the degree that he is now at Minato's level. However, there are also multiple things to suggest Minato is on the level of KCM1 Naruto as well, the first of which comes during the encounter between KCM Naruto and Kasame when Naruto blitzes Kasame to such a degree that B directly says he looked like a Yellow Flash, implying he looked like Minato. The second statement comes during the confrontation with the Raikage when Naruto manages to escape the full-powered Lightning Cloak to Raikage, which then causes both Tsunade and B to once again compare Naruto to the Yellow Flash, after he performed the exact same sequence as Minato did to the Raikage earlier in the Third War. It's also worth to note that Kishimoto spent specific time writing the Minato and Raikage fight flashbacks in the lead-up to Naruto's confrontation with the Raikage, which is a not-so-subtle way of creating the effect that Naruto is being compared to Minato. Holding the two panels next to each other shows a clear narrative intention of comparison to be made between them. So based on all of these statements, I do believe that Minato is somewhere in the KCM1 Naruto range. Now, based on this scaling, this would place a live Hokage Minato in a similar tier to Kokksu in speed, seeing as Kokksu is also able to fight characters who can compete with KCM1 Naruto, for example, Yukito. The only refutation that can be given to this argument is that Yukito was being amped by Obito during the war, which I disagree with massively. During the Jinchuriki vs Jinchuriki battle, we see that Obito fails to completely control the Jinchuriki when he tries to get close to them, and Kakashi remarks that this is probably due to the vast amount of chakra it takes to control all of the Jinchuriki. This means that Obito did not have enough chakra to even completely control them, let alone amplify their power. Imagine you have a dog on a leash and the dog is much larger and stronger than yourself and you are struggling to maintain control of it. Do you then just inject steroids in the dog to make it more powerful and even more difficult to control? Obviously not. That is not the only thing either, as we also know that Obito was specifically trying to conserve chakra during the war, and even goes so far to say that he doesn't want to waste chakra on Rinnegan abilities due to the fact that Kakashi and Naruto are already aware of how to counter them. This, in combination with another statement that the Jinchuriki were also utilizing their own power during this battle, shows that the Jinchuriki are not being amplified by Obito's power, but rather controlled. I will admit that I do believe the Jinchuriki's reaction speeds are being enhanced to a degree due to them having movement tracking of the Sharingan and Rinnegan shared vision, but I do not believe this plays any significance as Yukito herself is still able to physically keep up with and tag both Killer Bee and KCM Naruto, which is not reaction speed reliant. I have already given this example many times before on the channel, but if we look back to part 1 when Sasuke and Lee had their fight during the preliminaries of the Chunin exams, Lee tells Sasuke while beating his ass that even though his eyes are capable of tracking his movement, his body is not fast enough to stop him. In the case with Yukito, we are able to see that her body is fast enough to keep up with Killer Bee and Naruto, which basically proves that anyone who can react to her physical movement should be on the level of or above KCM Naruto. And seeing as Kakuzu reacts to the Prime Alive fully Biju transformed Yukito, this would suggest he is also on that level. The final and last major point I want to bring up in this section is that you should not forget that all of these Jinchuriki are being massively nerfed by the Edo Tensei. Madara, after gaining a Rinnegan and Hashirama cells, in combination with the fact that Kabuto specifically tried to restore Madara to his prime and gave him special focus, was still weaker than his alive EMS variation. Hashirama directly states that after Madara is revived, that he was returning to his original strength, which means that the Edo Tensei nerf was more significant than the amp given by both the Rinnegan and Hashirama cells, which is insane. And Yukito also suffers the effects of this nerf, yet she is still able to keep up with and tag KCM1 Naruto and Killer Bee, who should be at this time comparable to Minato, which means Kakuzu honestly has better overall combat speed than Minato. I do, however, believe that Minato's travel speed might be faster due to him being capable of outrunning Tobirama and Hashirama with his body flicker, but there's some potential for this to be wrong, as throughout the War Arc there are actually multiple instances where Body Flicker and Flying Thunder God get confused in translation. It's possible that Minato was actually throwing his kunai and teleporting to them to get to the battlefield, and he simply is more efficient than Tobirama, which would make him slower, but that's just kind of a hypothetical argument. For the sake of the video, we'll just assume Minato was just using Body Flicker and running to the battlefield, which would make him have faster travel speed than Kakuzu does. This comboed with this Flying Thunder God could still pose an insane threat to Kakuzu. This is the scaling chain I've created on screen just to give you a very formulaic representation of what I've just discussed in the speed section. So as it stands, Kakuzu should have faster combat speed than Minato, but slower run speed. Durability is also a very important section for a few reasons. The first of which being that Minato has really awful durability and literally gets pierced and damaged by a splinter from a wooden house that was blown up by a paper bomb. Yeah, you heard that right. Minato was damaged by a wooden shrapnel from a paper bomb laid by Obito. This in comparison to Kakuzu, who directly tanks a full-on paper bomb on screen right out the gate, shows us that Kakuzu has the clear better durability between the two. This is by far the least impressive feat Kakuzu has within his arsenal in regards to durability, as shown before when Kakuzu was able to withstand a direct paw strike from perfect Jinchuriki Yukito. The same Yukito that could damage KCM1 Naruto and blind Madara with her paw strikes. Kakuzu also directly states that he is invulnerable to physical attacks and that they simply do not work on him, despite him fighting and knowing about perfect Jinchuriki, which means that his durability is simply superior to these Jinchuriki's AP, or at least Yukito, which makes sense as Kakuzu was shown to be completely undamaged at the end of his fight with her. Another interesting detail shown at the end of their battle is that there were mountains destroyed in the background, which suggests that Yukito was probably firing Biji bombs. Some of you might say that this could be the result of her fireball, but we see that the fireball explosion was way too small to be capable of blowing up mountains, and the only ability that we have seen from Yukito that has any kind of destructive capability on that level is her Biji bombs, which makes it the most probable outcome that she did fire Biji bombs at Kakuzu. Not to say that he tanked a Biji bomb directly on his chest or something like that, but it would prove that Kakuzu does probably know about Biji bombs, yet still thinks he's completely indestructible to physical attacks. Kokuzu also tanked the fireball that blew up the compound as well, which again shows Kokuzu's consistently able to withstand Yukito's attacks. As I said, this section is a pretty clear no-brainer as to who is the more durable shinobi, so I don't think I need to discuss this much further. Diamond Armor is just really strong. I went pretty hard on Minato's attack potency in the Minato vs. Tobirama video, so definitely go and look at that if you're curious where he scales. But I think the best statement for him comes when he is directly stated to have equal power to Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. This, for obvious reasons, seems to be extremely good for Minato, however I beg to differ. The Rasen Shuriken, as you all know, was able to defeat Kokuzu, but I do not believe this was through sheer power. As explained by Tsunade during the autopsy of Kokuzu's body, the Rasen Shuriken attacks the cells directly and functions more similarly to a poison rather than physical trauma. This displays that Kokuzu's durability was not simply overwhelmed with power, but rather his internal body was attacked by tiny needles penetrating his cells. This is also shown in that Kokuzu's body was not destroyed by the Rasen Shuriken, despite being at ground zero of its explosion. His external body was actually completely fine, it was simply his internal cells that had been destroyed, which basically proves that his durability had been bypassed rather than overwhelmed. Another important aspect of this is the fact that Kokuzu had his Earth Heart pierced by Kakashi at the beginning of the fight, preventing Kokuzu from using his Diamond Armor. Had Kokuzu used his Diamond Armor, this could have been an insanely different outcome. Because Minato was only compared to the power of the Rasen Shuriken, and this incomplete Rasen Shuriken only has one feat, which is defeating a weakened Kokuzu, basically puts the nail in the coffin for Minato's capability to physically damage Kokuzu. None of Minato's other feats are even remotely as impressive as this statement, so it basically makes it impossible to say he is capable of damaging base Kokuzu, let alone Diamond Morph Kokuzu. Kokuzu's AP basically doesn't even need to be addressed due to the Splinter feat mentioned earlier, but here's a quick showing of what Kokuzu can do with just his Taijutsu. Here, Kokuzu destroys a massive gate with a Diamond Armor punch. Here, Kokuzu folds Kakashi with a single kick and massively splinters the giant tree behind him. Oh, and did I mention that Kokuzu is directly stated to be stronger than Jinchuriki? Oh, and he can also stalemate 2 of Kakashi's Raikiri with one lightning-style False Darkness attack. Which, if you want to know how powerful that is, make sure to go and watch my Kakashi Chidori video as well, link in the description. So yeah, based on all of this, I think it's very clear that Kokuzu can damage Minato, but Minato would struggle to damage Kokuzu, if even at all. But maybe it isn't over for Minato yet. Maybe one of his other abilities or his legendary ceiling could help him, right? Wrong. Minato literally never shows any ceiling of significance besides the Reaper Death. Literally none in the entire series. I see people in the Naruto community all the time bring up about Minato's ceiling and how good of a ceiling expert he is. But really the only statement we have about his ceiling is that Kushina had taught him some vague amount of ceiling jutsu that we don't even know what they do. So yeah, his only ceiling that he actually uses on screen in character and has shown any significance in power was the Reaper Death. But as we know, the Reaper Death also will result in Minato's own assured demise. Not only because it would kill him had he succeeded, but I don't even think he would succeed. It is shown that when Minato is sealing the Nine Tails, and that when Hiruzen is sealing Orochimaru, that they are forced into a standstill position where they are unable to move. Kokuzu's hearts are directly stated to be autonomous from Kokuzu himself. We see this during the confrontation with Shikamaru, that when Kokuzu is possessed by the Shadow Possession and forced to stand still, much like how the Reaper Death would play out for Minato, Kokuzu's hearts are able to break him free by removing the Chakra Blade, which means reasonably they can instead just decide to blast Minato with one of those massive jutsu that Kokuzu used against Kakashi and simply kill Minato before he's able to complete the seal. Besides this, I do not believe Minato has shown any abilities that could cope with the sheer durability and resilience of Kokuzu, nor do I believe his speed will play enough of a factor to really make him any significant threat to Kokuzu either. This means that a live Hokage Minato would get demolished by Kokuzu 10 out of 10 times. But wait. Before the Minato fans pooped their diapers, I never got a chance to talk about KCM2 Minato. As we see here, KCM Minato is able to combo attack and react with KCM2 Naruto and EMS Sasuke, and is also comparable to War Art Kakashi, the same War Art Kakashi that was capable of blocking and tagging some Jinchuriki that was scaling Kokuzu either, and fighting with Rinnegan Obito, which means that KCM2 Minato is directly shown to have better speed scaling than Kokuzu, and this combined with the fact he can create Nine Tails Biji Bombs, which are significantly more powerful than anything Kokuzu is hypothetically more durable than, this would mean that KCM2 Minato would obliterate Koksu 10 out of 10 times. Anyways, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to stay tuned for the next and most ambitious video I have ever created, my multiversal Naruto video. Peace.